Hey guys, those Communications, and welcome to my review of Shoot 'Em Up, 2007 flick, written and directed by a director called Michael Davis, who this is pretty much the last film he directed and wrote, and after this movie, he never did anything again. Which, after seeing this movie, that's a bunch of bullshit, because this movie was some of the most fun I've had watching a movie in years. Has some of the most inventive, fun action sequences I've seen in years. Really a absolute blast to watch this flick. If I don't already have it in my collection, which I mean I might, but I don't know exactly where it is right now. So I wanted to review it now, so not have to wait till I find it somewhere down the road and then show the DVD. So if I ever do a DVD collection video, I guess you'll find out if I already have it in my collection. But if I don't, I'm gonna add it sometime because I really, really enjoyed this movie. I really liked it a lot. It was recommended to me by a friend of mine. He really likes the movie, so I gave it a look, and I loved it. Quite frankly, I loved this movie. I had no problems with this film, Shoot 'Em Up, except for maybe a few sort of effects, special effects, a little bit at the end, the skydiving scene, which I'll talk about soon enough. But overall, I love this movie, and I highly recommend it to fans of action flicks. If you haven't seen this one yet, check it out. Because if you're a fan of hard-boiled John Woo type action, there's a lot of that type of action in this movie. It's definitely not a film that's realistic, but who cares? Who gives a fuck? I mean, realism would just hold this movie back and make it not nearly as fun as it is to watch. And I'm not the only one. Roger Ebert actually really liked this one. He gave it 3.5 out of stars. They need 3.5 out of 4 stars. 3.5 out of stars. Like what stars? What? He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars, actually, not 5. And he said, explaining, "It may disapprove of a movie for going too far, and yet have a sneaky regard for a movie that goes much, much further than merely too far." And that's what it does. It goes so over the top. When you think it cannot go any further, it goes further. And also, it helps that this movie is very short. The short running time just really helps this film a lot. It goes by really fast because it's such a short film, and it's not that it's 86 minutes long, and that's including the end credits. You take out the end credits, it's only like an hour and 21 minutes or so, and it goes by so fast because the action is fast and furious, the humor is fast and furious, the whole attitude of it is fast and furious. It's just a really quick, fast-paced action film with a very quick wit. And it really pisses me off to see that this guy, Michael Davis, never got another opportunity to direct anything again after this. Yeah, it wasn't a hit. Okay? There's a lot of directors who direct, movies that aren't hits and still get a chance to direct again. Yeah, the stuff he directed beforehand, before this movie, wasn't that impressive, like Monster Man, so to speak, and whatever. But he obviously knows how to direct an action scene. If you've ever seen this film, Michael Davis knows how to direct action. But you have freaking Luc Besson's butt boy, Olivia Megaton, who's a freaking Decepticon in disguise, who directs shitty action sequences, still keeps getting jobs and is directing Taken 3. I'd rather have Michael Davis direct Taken 3 over Olivia Megaton any day of the week. Olivia Megaton is shit. Because that's how shitty of a director he is. But his movies were hits. So Hollywood looks at it as if you direct a hit movie, you still get your chance to direct. It's like Michael Bay in Transformers movies. Yeah, maybe you're not the best choice for these movies, but hey, those movies are hits. So we'll let it slide. And then there you go. Let's keep giving Michael Bay more chances to ruin the Transformers. So, because it makes a lot of money. But Shoot 'Em Up is not one of those films. But I'm really glad I checked it out. I mean, it's a blast, a really fun flick. It stars Clive Owen, and this is definitely my favorite role he's ever had in any film. Paul Giamatti plays the villain of the film. Clive Owen plays this, loner type, lone gunman type guy named Smith, Mr. Smith, and Paul Giamatti plays this villain. He's the villain of the piece, and he's having a blast as as Hertz, Mr. Hertz, Carl Hertz, and he's having an absolute blast and a half playing this bad guy. And I'm here watching the movie, and I'm having a blast too because I know how much fun Paul Giamatti is having with this role. And like right off the bat, like the first few minutes, you're already right into an action scene. This craziness. There's this scene, where Clive Owen was sitting on a park bench, drinking some coffee. He sees this woman in a yellow raincoat, which she's pregnant, running away. It kind of reminded me of April O'Neil from the Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She's running away, and this guy's chasing after her. And he's like, "Oh, bloody hell!" He basically just drops his coffee and goes after this asshole. He's chasing after a pregnant woman. He's threatening to kill her. So then he goes into this warehouse that this pregnant woman is, and he just starts gunning down these motherfuckers who are trying to, shoot her. And it's just right off the bat, like, actually, he doesn't even shoot him right off the bat. He takes a carrot, because he likes eating carrots, because this is also, shoot 'em up is a lot, in a way, it's a lot like a cartoon, like a violent, super violent, uber violent, over the top cartoon. And that's actually how Michael Davis optioned the film. It was a 17-minute little sort of animated short that he did as an option to see if he can get funding for the film, and it worked because he obviously got funding for the movie and it got made. So the producers liked what they saw, and so he goes in, and Smith is a lot like Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny with a gun and wisecracking and making, great, cracking one-liners and shooting people in the face. So he's biting a carrot, he's eating a whole carrot, and he takes the carrot, shoves it right through this. I think he shoves it right through this guy's eye socket, or right through the back of his head, and he's like, you know, he's like, eat your vegetables. And then he goes in and just starts fucking gunning down these bad guys. And it's just, right off the bat, you know what type of movie you're in for. And, he starts gunning down these guys. Clive Owen's a drifter. He's at a bus stop. He's sitting on a park bench. Not really a park bench, it's a bus stop. Sees a pregnant woman fleeing a hitman. Then he falls in a warehouse. He murders the hitman with a carrot. He says the "eat your vegetables" line. He saves the woman. As more thugs arrive, Smith is forced to deliver the woman's baby, who he later gives it the name Oliver during a firefight. And he gives birth to the baby, and helps her birth the baby. And he has this fun line of dialogue where you have this guy, he's just, he rammed a carrot through the back of the killer's head. That's what he did. And then he goes in, and I'm just looking through IMDb to make sure to find the right line here, because he's talking about he's talking to the mother. She's trying to give birth, and he's shooting these bad guys, and he's like, "Do you know what I hate?" It's like, "No, I hate these 40-year-old jackals wearing ponytails. That ponytail doesn't make you look hip, young, or cool." And then he just shoots the ponytail guy in the back of the head. Shoots him right in the head. It's like, "I hate these 40-year-old jackals wearing ponytails. The ponytail doesn't make you hip, young, or cool." Just it's like, you're a badass movie then, though, when you start out with that. I'm already having a blast, and then you have the whole thing where she delivers the baby. Then the head assassin shows up, Carl Hertz, played by Paul Giamatti, and the woman is then shot and killed, forcing Smith to narrowly escape with Oliver, which is in a fun scene where Hertz is chasing after him, and he's standing behind the sign, and this sign, you have this sort of shootout with several men shooting at the letters of neon signs. So all that's left is one that says "fuck you" with the FUK and the letter U. It's like, "Fuck you, you fucking fuckers." And then there's like a whole scene where he actually has Smith says that Clive Owen is fun, great. "Fuck you, you fucking fuckers." I almost want to say that to the people who hate this movie, or the people who, people who didn't go to see Edge of Tomorrow and made it a flop. "Fuck you, you fucking fuckers." But no, I'm being sarcastic. If you didn't go see it, that's okay. Wasn't your cup of tea. But I like this sort of exchange that Hertz has with Mr. Smith. He starts talking to him, and he's just like, "Bravo, Mr. Hero, bravo. Why are you trying to kill this woman? Something funny?" And, Hertz laughs, and he's like, and then Smith's like, "Something funny? Well, I was just remembering a limerick. There was once a woman who was quite begat. She had 3 babies named Nat, Pat, and Tat. She said it was fun in the breeding, but found it was hell in the feeding, and when she saw there was no tit for tat. You have caused me no end of trouble, but now I shall return the favor. Tit for tat, right? And then this whole sort of thing. And that was actually a meeting he had later in the film, with the bad guy, with Hertz. But that's the whole thing where it's like, fuck you, you fucking fuckers. And then you have the whole thing where Hertz ends up shooting one of the other letters out. It's like, fuck you, too. And this is what he saves the baby. He thought about leaving the baby there with the dead mom, but he grabs the baby and does the right thing. And he goes off, and he gets away from Hertz and his hitmen, and he escapes with Oliver. Then he leaves the baby in a park, hoping that someone will adopt the child, only for a passing woman to be killed by Hertz. Realizing Hertz is trying to kill Oliver, Smith saves him, attempts to leave him with a lactating prostitute named Donna, played by Monica Bellucci, who her call name is DQ, which is funny because she lets a lot of guys suck on her tit, and then later in the film she gets a undercover job at an ice cream parlor like DQ, like Dairy Queen, and Monica Bellucci was horrible in this in terms of acting, but she was not here to be a great actress. Trust me, not even the slightest. She was there to look hot and basically play a prostitute. So she did a pretty good job with that. You're not looking for Oscar-winning acting when you're looking at somebody playing a prostitute, so didn't really bother me that much. But he tries to leave the baby with Donna. He actually puts the baby in like a bag, like a paper bag full of styrofoam peanuts. Tries to leave it with her, and despite his pleas, she refuses. Like he catches her while she's doing a trick where she has this guy. He's literally sucking off her tit, and he's like, "Do you want some? There's plenty, And then he's all like, "No, no, thank you. I'm lactose intolerant. I'm lactose intolerant." So eventually, though, she ends up. What happens is Hertz arrives at the brothel shortly after and tortures Donna for information. So that was a really clever way that he did it. He started torturing her because he fired a gunshot, and then he started using the barrel of the gun and started burning her skin with it, which I'd never seen before in a film. So I thought that was pretty clever. And right before he's about to burn her private parts, she finally, she doesn't. She is about to give some information, but then Smith returns and then kills a bunch of Hertz's henchmen. And then after taking Donna to his hideouts, which I thought was really cool, the way that he sets it up, it's kind of like in order to open the door, he has to have like a rat get in a cave, get in a basket, and move this pulley and things like that. It's something you see Doc Brown would invent in Back to the Future. And so he takes him to hideout, and that's when Smith realizes that Oliver stops crying when he hears heavy metal music, because he's flipping through the channels, and he's flipping through the channels, and he goes in. I'm trying to find it here. He's flipping through the channels, and I'm just trying to find it here. There it is. It's like flipping through the channels on TV. He's like, "Hey, do you notice that? Notice what? Look." He flicks the channel on the TV. Lame-ass politician rants about gun control, he cries. Flips again. Switch to this channel with heavy metal music. He shuts up. That's so weird. So then you find out that the kid, the baby, so they're thinking the baby might have been raised in a place that had a lot of heavy metal music. So then he concludes that his mother lived near a heavy metal club. So followed by Hertz, Smith is then forced to shoot his way out of his hideout, which is a badass scene. There's this wave after wave of henchmen just going up the stairs, and he's just fucking them up like nobody's business. And it's like just inventive, fun action sequences. Uses a table as cover in one, fucking up these guys, just blowing them all away. And I like the line of dialogue that Paul Giamatti has after he just absolutely wasted all of these like hundreds of you know you know of his men. And I like the whole thing where I like Hertz's line of dialogue. He's like, "My God, do we really suck, or is this guy really that good?" So do we really suck, or is this guy really that good? There's a lot of fun lines of dialogue. Hertz has some great lines. Paul Giamatti has some great lines like "fuck me sideways," or the whole thing where he's talking to this guy while he's riding in the car, and he's like, "Do you know why a gun is better than a wife?" And the shock guy is riding shotgun with him. He's like, "I don't know. You can't. You know, I don't know." He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "You can put a silencer on a gun." Just like then he surpasses the dead woman that he shot, and she has her breasts out. He's like, "Nice knockers." And then later on, he actually tries to. He literally is like the dead woman, the pregnant woman is dead. He puts in the back of the car. He's like massaging her tits, and she's dead. And I'm like, oh, he's also a necrophiliac. What an asshole. And then I like this line where before they even go into Smith's place, it's like his driver, Hertz's driver, is like, of all the squats in the city, how does he know Smith's in this one? Another lucky guess? Nah, he doesn't guess. He sees things we don't. He was once an FBI profile, forensic behavior consultant. My God, how many times do I have to tell you guys? Details make all the difference in this business. Then he opens the door and he's like, "Hey, don't you think you should hang back, sir? The leader who stays in the rear takes it in the rear. Besides, violence is one of the most fun things to watch." It is true. I could sum up this movie with that quote. You know, violence is one of the most fun things to watch when it's done right, and it is done. It is done excellently here in Shoot 'Em Up. So it is extremely fun to watch for me. So, of course, there's a few more. Of course, there's other great lines. I remember the whole thing where he confronts Giamatti, you know, I think in the hallway in one place, even in the place when DQ meets up with Mr. Smith, you know, she's like, "Who are you?" It's like, "I'm a British nanny, and I'm dangerous." and and then you have the whole thing. She's yelling at him in Italian, and he's like, "I don't understand a word you're going on about, but I know exactly what you're saying, and I refuse to apologize." And then there's also the whole thing where sort of sight gag where they go in and he tries to use food stamps to buy some bullets. And he's like, you know, it's just as good as cash. you know, and then you know, he catches Monica Bellucci trying to turn a trick for some money, and he slams the door in the guy's hand, the guy's hands while he's holding on to the. He slams the top of a dumpster on his hands. And she's like, "What are you doing? I'm trying to make some money for the baby." And then she actually ends up buying a bulletproof vest for the baby, because that's the whole thing. She's buying the bulletproof vest for the baby, and it's like, you know, to buy something for the baby, something for the baby. And then they go back in the pawn shop, and she wraps Baby Oliver in a bulletproof vest. A bulletproof vest is better than a crib. Mr. Smith's like, "I hate to think what you do to get him into the right school." So there's a lot of fun stuff. And so that he actually ends up cornering Mr. Hertz again. And I like the whole scene where they're talking, and trying to find it a little bit here. And he's all like, you know, after telling the Smith his gun is empty, he's like, "And you won't be getting it with that. You won't be getting it up with that gun you took off my man. No, you see, like my weapon, it also has the thumbprint safety device." Mr. Smith says, "Oh, really?" And then he holds up the thug's severed hand. "Wanna bet?" Then he grabs a shard of glass. Hartz grabs a shard of glass, charges at him, screaming. Smith fits the severed hand's thumb onto the pistol grip and then shoots Hertz in the chest. And then, this is a great one-liner. Like, nothing like a good hand job. This is just so. And a lot of people were like, I guess there were some people who were bitching about the the one-liners, and I think they're great. Really, they're like anything like you'd see in the '80s. Like totally, like Arnold says, it's like the kind of stuff you heard in Commando. You know, like, he's dead tired. Excuse my friend here, he's dead tired. It's the same sort of thing. And I like the stuff, the other sort of lines here. I'm just gonna go through a few more sort of. There's just so many great lines in this movie. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through a few more sort of just, you know, tit for tat, so to speak, between Mr. Smith and Mr. Hertz. Smith bites into carrot and he points the gun at Hertz and is like, "What's up, Doc? Ooh, you're wascally rabbit." Then he points his gun at Smith and is like, "But you're not wascally enough. Yeah? That's a 6-shooter. I just counted 6 shots. you've blown your load. And then there's the whole thing where they have another sort of tit for tat here, where I think that's it. That's the one I was talking about. Was that one? You know, where he's like, "What's up, Doc?" You know, because it's totally like, you know, Bugs Bunny, and so there's definitely a lot more, which I'm gonna get to later. But anyway, getting back to a little bit of the plot here. You know, he takes Donna to his hideout. That's when all the carnage happens. He messes up wastes his entire bunch of henchmen. It's like, do we suck? Or is he really that good? And then heading above the club, they discover an apartment containing a medical equipment. They head by to the nearby metal club after he gets out of his hideout and wastes like what seems like 50 or 60 henchmen in the process. They discover an apartment containing medical equipment and 2 dead pregnant women. Smith includes the women were all impregnated with a specific man's sperm so they could birth matching, so they could get birth matching bone marrow donors. And I like the whole thing where he walks by the sperm freezer, and excuse me for, you know, my parents are doing, I don't know what they're watching something and being like, "Wow, sperm donors. Oh, okay." And he's going like, he walks through the room with semen samples, and he's like, "Watch where you step. The ice cream is melting." And the DQ is like, "What?" It's like, "I thought donor sperm was your department." Uh, so, so then you have, you know, what happens is they discover the mystery. He hides in a motel room. Smith and Donna are attacked by masked men during sex. Which literally just leads to this incredibly over the top sequence, where it's just so badass. Because he's just like, he comes in and he's just he's just fucking Monica Bellucci, and all these guys come in and he's riding her bareback, you know, he's riding her. She's riding on top of him bareback. He's fucking shooting all these guys. It's so awesome. He's like, just like, boom, 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 taking out all of these guys. And then afterwards, he's done. He's done. You know, fucking Monica Bellucci, and then he's all like, talk about shooting a load. It's like, God, it's so over the top, but so hilarious. And then later, these guys show up. And they were FBI guys. And one of these guys from the FBI talks to Smith later. He's like, you know, we were never really trying to kill you. We only wanted to scare you into surrender. And Mr. Smith's like, well, that's one way to explain why you can't shoot straight. And so, you know, it was a lot of fun sequences. It was so, I mean, you think it can't go any further with it. And then he's fucking her, and then he's at the same time he's fucking her, he's shooting down all these FBI SWAT team guys. It's great. It's fantastic. Um, and it's totally just being a pair. It's not taking itself seriously at all, this movie. And I like trying to see if there's any other like something that relates to that scene. Um, I like this scene where Mr. Smith is driving with DQ, and I think they're driving around trying to get to the hotel, and he's like, "Look at this! I moved my finger 1 inch to use my turn signal. Why are these assholes so lazy they can't move their finger 1 fucking measly inch to drive more safely? You want to know why? Not particularly, because these rich bastards have to be callous and inconsiderate in the first place to make all that money, so when they get on the road, they can't help themselves. They've got to be callous and inconsiderate drivers, too. It's in their nature." And literally he just takes this guy, he's swerving, he's cutting him off, and he just slams his ass into a fucking divider or something on the side of the road. It was like, he just does all these things. Mr. Smith does all these things that you wish you could do. I mean, like take the guy who's cut you off in traffic and slam him into a fucking, divider, or go and, shoot people who, look stupid and you don't like the way they look, and he consistently says that throughout the film. He's like, you know what I hate, so, stuff like that. And so it's a lot of fun. This movie's so much fun. I have fun talking about this movie too. Um, Anyway, oh, like DQ says, she says later, she's like, "You are the angriest man in the world." It's like, if I remember right, you used to like it like that. I have to admit, I do. Forgive my British accent going in and out. Like, it's just something that I can do, but it's So anyway, going back to the film itself, what am I, like 20 something minutes, 25 minutes in? Let's get this, try to get this done here. But anyway, he goes in the motel room. Smith and Donna are attacked by masked men during sex. Smith kills them while supporting Donna, apparently without her even being aware of the gunplay. Just why not? Of course not. She's in the throes of passion. It's just climax. She doesn't care about gunplay going on. Then they discover this as assailants' weapons are all Hammerson models unavailable to the public. Smith then takes Donna and Oliver to a war museum, and then he hides them in an M24 Chaffee armored tank. Infiltrating the Hammerson factory, Smith witnesses Hertz and Hammerson in a conversation about how they do not want the Second Amendment repealed by the next president, and notices Hammerson owns a German Shepherd called Duchess. Smith booby traps the entire facility, allowing them to kill his assailants and escape in a really fun action sequence. Really inventive, like a lot of things in the movie. And then another funny little bit of dialogue here, where I like this exchange between Hammerson, who's played by Stephen McHattie, and he's with Paul Giamatti here, and he's basically, this is what he says. You know why Americans love guns, Mr. Hertz? And it's got nothing to do with all that phallic mumbo jumbo cocking your gun. No, Hertz, people love guns because America is the land of opportunity, where a poor man can become rich and a pussy can become a tough guy. And pussy can become a tough guy if he's got a gun in his hand. Now I'm hoping you're not just a pussy with a gun in your hand. And then Mr. Hertz is like, "Oh no, sir. No, I'm not. I'm a tough guy with a pussy in my hand." So, really fun stuff there. And so it goes in, it's booby traps the place, fucks it up, takes all these guys down, and kills his assailants. And then Smith soon noticed an article on Senator Harry Rutledge, played by Daniel Pilon, who is a presidential candidate campaigning for stricter gun laws. Smith reduces that Rutledge has cancer and requires a bone marrow transplant, which is why he had surrogates impregnated with his sperm, and why Hertz and Hammerson want Oliver dead, so the infants die. The senator will not receive no donation and will be unfit to run as president. So that was actually a pretty decent plot line there. And pretty, inventive, I thought. And Smith then tells Don to leave town before Smith contacts one of Rutledge's henchmen to request an appointment. Meeting aboard a plane, Senator confirms Smith's suspicions, only for Smith to notice dog hair on his trousers. So there's also a few other scenes that I thought were really fun. He ends up actually, he goes in, he commandeers a car, and he goes in, and like you think, oh no, there's no way he can make it out here. He gets in the car, he's in a car chase, and he's trying to get to the airport, and he fucks up these henchmen, and he ends up actually jumping into the back of a car. I think it was like I'm trying to make that, I think that might have been the parachute scene. So he gets out of the plane, and then he gets a parachute, lands. I don't think that's it actually. He's in a car chase, and he finds a way to. These guys are chasing him, and somehow he manages to actually get into the back of the car. It shoot part of the back of the armored van and shoot all the bad guys, and then say, this says like a seatbelt line. He's like he's after being propelled from his car into a van and shooting all the occupants inside. He's like, so much for wearing a seatbelt. And I liked the whole scene, which I thought was hilarious. And it was so it was another one of those things where it's just so over the top. And what he did is he set up the fake baby. He has like a fake baby. He didn't even have the baby with him. There was actually an animatronic fake baby. And Mr. Hurst thinks he runs it over. And then you have Paul Giamatti looks out the window, and the look at his face, it cracks me up every time. And then his line delivery is so great here. He's like, "What the hell is that thing? Oh my God, that is twisted!" That sick son of a bitch! Oh, that sick son of a bitch suckered us again! Excuse me for, spitting on the camera there. It's like, oh my god, what the hell is that thing? So then he ends up going onto the plane. Deduces that, discerning the hair belongs to Duchess. He deduces that the senator struck a deal with Hammerson. Smith takes Rutledge hostage, only for Hertz and Hammerson to appear. Escaping from Hertz, Smith kills the senator and leaves from the aircraft with the parachute. Senator's like, at least let me die with some dignity. And the whole thing where he actually says this line to the guy, the senator. Try to find it here. Well, that's another good line he had here, where he was talking with Hammerson, Mr. Hertz. More great lines from Hertz. He's all like, guns don't kill people, but they sure help. So he goes in and just trying to find it. I know it's here. I saw it on this quote thing. Talks to the senator guy, and Mr. Smith pretty much tells him, fuck, come on. I've seen it. It's here. No, it is here. Sorry, I really apologize for this. Come on. There it is. Let me give you a piece of advice. Never trust the people who stand to profit, plain and simple. They're the bad guys. So he ends up just shooting him in the head and sends him out. And then that's the one scene in the film that I thought the effects were kind of chintzy. They look really kind of... I know it adds this sort of comic book vibe to it, but it looks really bad blue screen where he falls out of the airplane and he's falling out of the plane and shooting back people while they're trying to shoot at him. And he ends up landing on the ground. And he collapses due to his injuries. And then awakening in Hammerson's mansion, Hertz tortures Smith, breaking his fingers to learn where he sent Don and Oliver. As Hertz cuts Smith's eyes, which is a really great scene. He literally just he lets him shove. He takes the fucking scalpel and shoves it right in his forehead. And just gets up, fucks up these guys. He's got a scalpel that went right through his hand and then stuffed it right through his head. It was just like insane. One after the guy with the broken fingers. And there's some really good lines of dialogue between Hertz where he tries to figure out what's going on with telling him Mr. Hertz about, Mr. Hertz telling Mr. Smith about his past, and he's all like, hey, who trained you? NSA, Black Ops, CIA, the Army? Well, whoever. Seems you haven't lost your aim, champ. If you think that's good, if you think that's good, you should see me spell my name in the snow. Hey, my boss thinks you're the Lone Ranger or something. But I believe I have a better idea about who you are. I found out how your wife and son were killed. My God, what a tragedy. Some guy walks into a burger joint, starts shooting up the place. Oh my God. What a shame that your wife and son were there eating their chicken nuggets. What's the matter? You don't like that story? Well, then why don't you tell me one, Children's story, please. Oh, I know. Tell me my favorite. Yeah, tell me the one about the baby. And then Mr. Smith's like, maybe later, when I put you to sleep. And then there's another one where Mr. Hertz is, thinks he's got the upper hand on Mr. Smith. And just trying to find it here. Which is another fun scene where, like, before he ends up in the final battle with Hertz in his mansion, it goes with the scene where this woman is spanking her child. It's so hilarious and so over the top and absurd and so irreverent. Just a great example of this film's irreverent sense of humor. And Mr. Smith's all like, I hate it when parents hit their children. And the woman's, she's like, let go of my arm. It's like, not until you stop hitting your kid. I would discipline my child as I see fit. How would you like it if I spank you? And he starts spanking her. And he's like, see, it doesn't feel so good, does it? What's funny, actually, is that the actress who gets spanked by Mr. Smith because he sees her spanking her child was very excited about the prospect of being spanked by Clive Owen. So she was enjoying it too much. This wasn't. That was a fun bit of trivia there. And then I really like this line where now Hertz has got him cornered, thinks he's got him. He's broken his fingers. He thinks he's got Smith. He's going to kill him. And he's like, oh, yes, sirree, Bob. Certainly has been a pleasure. Before we part ways, tell me one thing. I am dead on about who you are, right? Say that again. I said, I am dead. Stop. That part of it you got right. Then pretty much he ends up being dead later. He corners Smith and manages to break free and kill several thugs. He uses the scalpel, cuts up some motherfuckers with it. And cornered and struggling to use his gun. Smith places live rounds between his broken fingers, and by detonating them using a fireplace, shoots and critically wounds Hertz. As Smith and Hertz both grab pistols and struggle to kill each other, Smith manages to fire first and kill Hertz. And I like that scene. Or he also killed Hammerson earlier. That was a good scene too, where he's like, "Oh, gun's just fucking great, Hammerson." And that was so badass. He killed him with just bullets like in his hand, and I like the bit of humor too, black humor that happens too after Hertz is dying and his phone rings. He's like, "That's your wife. You should probably get that." So he's like, "Oh, hi, honey." And he hangs it up. She's like yelling at him. And Hertz is dying, and he's all like, "She's leaving me." and I'm trying to see if there's the last line of last. I don't know if it's here. The last little bit of the last line that he said when he killed Hertz. I know he said something, but I can't really remember it. But anyway, there's just so many awesome scenes in this movie. I just think it's such a great film. And afterwards, he kills Hertz and he gets his hands, fixed. He's got casts on him. And after boarding a bus at Duchess, Smith soon stops at an ice cream parlor, only to find Donna working as a waitress watching Oliver. The film ends as a group of amateur robbers enter this parlor. In the parlor, his hands and bandages. Smith shoots them by using a carrot to pull the trigger. Because he's doing the whole thing. These guys come in and start to rob. They try to rob the place. And this guy with filthy feet. Some guy wearing like a shitty, misogynistic earring and bad teeth. And you don't see what he says. He says, "You know what I hate?" He's like, "You know what I hate?" And then he takes a gun and he just shoots all these fuckers. Shoots the guy with the ugly feet and the toe. Shoots the guy with the bad earring. Shoots his ear off. Goes shoots the guy in the face. I think the guy with the bad teeth. This guy was trying to rob the place, and then the movie ends, and it goes. Gunplay happens, and a gunfire happens, and a gunshot. You hear a gunshot, and then the end credits. There's a lot of great use of music to soundtrack and the soundtrack music in this film. AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You Got It as an action scene. That was really cool to hear that. And Kickstart My Heart is placed at the end credits. Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart, and then was also played at in the trailers. But this movie wasn't a hit. This movie pretty much bombed. It really didn't do much at all. It was made on a $39 million budget. It only made $26 million worldwide. So sadly, it didn't make barely any money at all. And but I'm just going to try to see the soundtrack, exactly what songs. Great soundtrack. Ace of Spades is one action scene, which is great. My favorite Motorhead song. Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. If You Want Blood, You Got It by AC/DC. Excuse me. So those are the main ones I remember the most were those. And there's a few pretty cool instrumental tracks. One that played at the end credits, it was pretty badass. Um, that Shoot 'em Up. Um, really enjoyed this movie. I had a blast with it. I really love this flick. Might have forgotten a few lines of dialogue here, and there was a lot of great scenes. I just remember the one where he goes into the heavy metal club, and this one big tall dude is not letting him in, and Monica Bellucci realizes this dude has like a piercing in his dick, and she just rips it right out, and the guy's like, ah! He leads him up to the room, and this is like it was just really cool to see that not only was Clive Owen badass, but Monica Bellucci had her moments too. And this movie literally might take the cake. Hot Shots Part 2, it claims it's the bloodiest movie ever. I don't know. This might be the bloodiest movie ever. I mean, literally, it felt like that in some scenes, like the Hot Shots Part 2 scenes where Charlie Sheen just mowing down a bunch of enemies. And I looked at body count. It's 151 people were killed in this movie. 151. And purportedly also 15 gallons of fake blood were used. And baby Oliver was actually cast before he was even born. The producers chose a woman who was pregnant with twin boys who would deliver at the time the filming began, so the baby would generally be a newborn baby, as this character is. And that was great. That really was wonderful to see. For once, I even noticed that. It actually looks like a newborn baby, not a 2-week-old baby, and it really was newborn. The first gunsmith uses as a wall for PPK. The usual gun of John James Bond. The gun jams on him, and he calls it a piece of crap. This is an in-joke to the fact that Clive Owen was once considered for the role of James Bond. The role eventually went to Daniel Craig. I could see Clive Owen playing Bond after Craig might leave. If Craig leaves, I think Clive Owen would be a good choice. Throughout the scene, Mr. Smith is often munching on a carrot. It's probably a reference to the wives' tale that eating carrots improves the side sight and thereby improves one's shooting accuracy. Really, what it was is a reference to Bugs Bunny. And Paul Giamatti's first experience of handling a firearm was in this film. Both he and Clive Owen attended a gun school to familiarize themselves with how to handle various weapons. So Clive Owen joined him too as the first. This is the first, experience handling a firearm. They have the whole sort of thing. I guess in the beginning of the movie, we have the rooftop scene where Clive Owen's character shoots a neon sign spelled "fuck you," and he says "fuck you, you fucking fuck us." That line is actually taken from the lyrics of a strapping young lad song, "You Suck," and the band actually later appears in a music video on a television. One of the rules that Michael Davis observed was that there would be no explosions. Every scene had to be gun-centric. The skydiving scenes, which were shot against a green screen, Clive Owen essentially spent 9-hour days strapped into a Cirque du Soleil harness up in the air. Yeah, you could tell they were behind a green screen. 5 babies were used for the infant in the film. 3 of them were real stunt babies. The other 2 were prosthetic devices. The latter sparked afforded guide markings on the face so that CG artists can map a real baby's face and the artificial one in a more frenetic action sequences. Over 200 different guns were used in the film, some of which were created specially. Mr. Smith uses a total of 18 guns. There are several references to Warner Brothers cartoons throughout the whole film. Mr. Smith, Clive Owen, is wisecracking and cracks wise and eats carrots like Bugs Bunny, whilst Paul Giamatti hunts him like a darker Elmer Fudd. Really, he does. They do look a lot. He does look a lot like Elmer Fudd. Similar facial structure. Also, Hertz's cell phone plays Richard Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, which is parodied in the cartoon What's Opera Doc in 1957 as Kill the Wabbit. The bus that Don and Smith leave on town says its destination is wherever. Like I said, writer-director Michael Davis found his original concept being continually passed over by his movie studios. He put together a 17-minute reel of animated footage consisting of 17,000 line drawings with the title card, "This is John Woo's Wet Dream." Clive Owen was Michael Davis's first choice for the lead. And Michael Davis' inspiration for the film was Chow Yun Fat's baby saving scene in John Woo's Hard Boiled. Director Michael Davis and Paul Giamatti had a lot of fun deciding on the look of Giamatti's character, eventually settling on a bad comb-over and a slightly lopsided goatee, indicating how sloppy the character could be in some areas. Unfortunately for Giamatti, he made Shoot 'em Up during the 2005 Oscar season when his film Cinderella Man was heavily in play, and Giamatti had to attend all the major awards functions looking slightly disheveled. And so for the closing scenes in which Clive Owen's character had all his fingers broken, Owen was essentially wearing a prosthetic glove with engorged fingers at grotesque angles. That really did look pretty effective. Really did. So I just want to share a little bit of that. And there was also some weird sort of marketing the film did. In July 2007, Shoot 'em Up was publicized as a guerrilla marketing campaign by London-based agency New Media Maze. The campaign included a viral video and a website selling bogus items ranging from bulletproof strollers to riot helmets for infants. A video was released on YouTube in which the company claimed they tested the bulletproof stroller by shooting at it with a submachine gun when a baby was in it, and the baby was then taken out of the stroller and armed. It was all a hoax. But the campaign was nevertheless taken seriously by global media and the blogging community. For instance, Sweden's biggest evening tabloid, Aftonbladet, had the story as its lead on their online edition for some time. And reception of the film wasn't that great. It was actually received a mixed. It wasn't universally hated by critics. Peter DeBruge of Variety called the film violent and vile in its equal measure, but too stylistically audacious to dismiss it outright. Frank Sheck of The Hollywood Reporter was more equivocal in his review, saying anyone looking for subtlety, character development, or layered plotting will be disappointed, but action fans will find plenty to amuse them with this film that makes hard-boiled look restrained, and that the film is all very good and undeniably fun. I agree with that. It's not the film you're going to look for to, massage your intellect or, help you with that. It's not going to, really, it's not for an intellectual viewer. Intellectual viewers could watch it, and hopefully they'll be able to appreciate it for what it is. But there's some people who hate it because it doesn't add anything. It doesn't end up massaging or making you use your brain at all. So in my opinion, it's useless. Well, you're a pretentious fuckface, so fuck you, you fucking fucker. I totally disagree with Michael Phillips, a Chicago Tribune, who said the film was jolly cruel. He said the jolly cruelty of the film was horrible, and calling the film cruddy, vile, and witless. I think he's full of shit. And A.O. Scott I really don't like. He just said the film was a worthless piece of garbage. A.O. Scott, go suck a carrot. Seriously, suck a carrot. Suck it. But anyway, but if you don't like the movie, that's cool. I have no problem with that. I just think the movie's underrated. I don't know if people talk about this flick. I think it's an excellent action flick. There's 151 people get fucking shot in this movie. So many people get shot in ingenious, fun ways. There's a lot of great action choreography in this film. A lot of ingenious choreography with a great lead who's got great, dry delivery. A lot of fun to watch this movie. And even the bad guy, Paul Giamatti. And it's unique, too, because he's not really a big, muscly guy. He's just fat pudgy guy who has power and has a bunch of guys at his disposal and knows how to use a gun and is funny too. So you have a nice, great, witty back and forth. I like that. It is like a dark comic version of Bugs Bunny versus Elmer Fudd. And like I said, I think that one quote that Hurt says about the film sums it up best. Watching violence is so much fun. It's so much fun watching violence. And he really couldn't say it any better than that. Violence is one of the most fun things to watch, and this movie was a really fun movie for me to watch. So, because it did its violence right and it did it well. But anyway, I really don't know what to say about Shoot 'em Up. 7 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna give it. I really like the movie, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I really highly enjoyed this film, so it's one of my favorite action movies now. So take from that what you will. Thanks for watching this 50-something minute review of Shoot 'em Up. I didn't think it was going to last that long, but whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed it regardless, and I will see you guys later. See ya.